Hi everyone, Nick Creticos of Nick's Seasonal Decor, and today we're going to be designing this beautiful sunflower wreath. The wreath shown right here is made out of a poly burlap. However, today we're going to be using both a different color as well as a different product. However, the end result is the exact same. I'm going to be using a paper mesh today, and the supplies you're going to need is 2 rolls of paper mesh. I have one for orange for the petals and one green for the foliage. You're also going to need 2 frames, a 15-inch frame, a 24-inch frame, a rotary cutter shown here, some wire cutters, some zip ties, and a cutting mat. This little portion right here is used as the seeds, and you can pick these up from trendytree.com. It's a small local business that ships craft supplies all around the country. So our first step is to begin prepping our mesh, and we're going to cut it 18 inches in length. And we're going to need 1 full roll, and depending on how full you want your wreath or how large you want your wreath, I typically recommend you pick up 2 rolls of whatever color you want for the petals and 1 roll for the foliage. So I'm speeding up the video right here, that way you don't have to sit there and watch me cut every individual piece. But right now what I'm doing is I'm opening up all of the twist ties. It just makes it easier to insert the mesh, and you don't have to sit there and fiddle with it, opening up all of the twist ties. And now what we're going to do is take our 15-inch form and attach it securely using zip ties to our 24-inch form. So I'm taking 4 or 5 zip ties and placing them throughout the entire portion and attaching it securely. At the end, what we're going to do is come back and use our wire cutters to snip off the ends of the zip ties. That way they don't protrude through the mesh and they're not visible once we're finished with our wreath. Of course, you can use some wire. I feel as though zip ties are a little bit stronger to attach it to the frame and it holds up a little bit better. But you do really want that tension. And by using a smaller frame in the middle, it helps prop up the seeds, which we're going to be using as that circle disc that we picked up from Trendy Tree. So now we're coming back in with the wire cutters I was just talking about and just snipping off the ends of the zip ties. So our next step is to add our mesh, and we're going to need 2 pieces, and we're going to take one end and roll it all the way, essentially creating one giant cannoli with pointed tips on either side, and we're going to take 2 pieces and place it on the second ring of the 24-inch frame. The reason we're not using it on the outermost ring that you just saw me point at is because we're going to reserve that space for the foliage that we're going to add at the end. So the entire wreath is going to get 2 pieces of petals. In total, there's going to be 4 petals in each section. Other than the innermost ring of the 15-inch frame, we're going to go back in and add 1 piece of mesh to each of those, simply because we don't want it to be overbearing and completely hide our seeds in the middle. So the fun thing about designing these sunflower wreaths is you truly can make it your own. Today we're using a paper mesh. You could use burlap mesh or regular deco mesh. Whatever look you're trying to go for, you easily can achieve using this. Whether it be rustic or if you want it to be glitzy and glamorous, you could use a high foil deco mesh. Today we're going for a rustic approach. So we've added all of our mesh to the outermost of the largest ring, and now we're coming back in to the smaller ring and placing it on the outermost of that ring. So we are going to be using a generous amount of deco mesh today, as we are adding 2 pieces to each. But I do find it important to add a lot of petals, that way you don't see any bare spots and it's nice and full. So now that we've added all of our mesh to the outer ring of the smaller frame, we're coming back in with 1 individual piece to the inner ring, and that'll just help fill it in a little bit more and hide any of the frame without covering the seed disc. So typically when we design deco mesh wreaths, I like my curls to be perfectly flat. This is the one exception where we're taking it from one end, and as you can see here, rolling it from back to front to have 2 pointed tips to simulate petals. So this is the only time I actually do this type of method, and now we're adding our final twist. And real quick, if you are enjoying these tutorials and would like to see more of them, Feel free to subscribe, like, and comment on both this video, as well as check out my other platforms of social media, including Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. And our next step is to begin adding some of the foliage. And we're doing the same exact method where we're curling them and placing it on those few pieces that we reserved on the outermost part of the 24-inch frame. And this will just give us the perfect amount of foliage without taking away from our sunflower. So in total, we used 18 pieces of this, as there were 9 twists around the outermost part. Since we doubled up, 9 times 2 is 18, and I think that is more than enough, and we still have a little bit of this mesh left over if we want to use it for a future project. So feel free to make this wreath whatever color scheme you want. Typically sunflowers are yellow or orange, but you could truly do whatever color and use this particular technique for other parts of the year rather than summer and fall. You could be designing this using red for poinsettias. You could be designing it yellow for daisies for spring. You know, truly the sky is the limit, because you can make this look like whatever flower you want with whatever color scheme you want. So now I'm just placing the middle portion of the sign in the middle. I didn't attach it, but all you have to do is use some wire. So here's the finished product, and I thank you guys for watching this video.